Okay. Okay.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Buffy Donahoo, and it's my pleasure to be with you tonight and to have all of you join us. I'm really excited to share something really groundbreaking with you. And we have a gift for you tonight, and that's in the form of information and education. What you choose to do with that gift is completely up to you. Just like when you go to a buffet, you take what you want and you leave the rest. We hope you'll approach this information with that same thought. I believe each of you are here for a unique reason, and you'll likely fall into one, if not many, of these categories. You have a health challenge, and you want to see if this might help you. You have a loved one with a health challenge. You want to be proactive. You might be an athlete, elite, or at any level, and you'd like to get out and run and hike and bike, do your workouts, and you might be wanting to break your own records and see if you can improve upon or beat your younger self. You're looking at anti-aging aspects for the skin, perhaps, but also overall more energy, greater focus, or you want to avoid things that seem to sneak up on us as we get older. You might be looking at the business possibilities and what it looks like to help bring this to market. You might be looking to be an impact beyond yourself, maybe even on the global scale, to be part of a purpose-driven mission, and to get on this project team of truly incredible people working together as a team who love others and want to make a real difference in the world. You might be utterly bored in retirement and want to do something with real purpose again, and to have something to look forward to doing every day. Some of you have no idea why you've been invited, and we're very grateful you're here as well. I'm happy to be your tour guide into this fascinating, truly wonderful world of ASEA. What we're about to show you is one of the top 5 most impactful technology breakthroughs of our lifetime. If you're like me, when I first learned about this almost 3.5 years ago in my naturopathic practice, you'll begin thinking of family, friends, and loved ones you want to share this gift with. And you simply can by inviting them right back here next week as your guest. It's my pleasure to now introduce you to my colleague and dear friend, Dr. Carolyn Hoffman. She is on ASEA's medical professional board, and she will offer you a very thorough education on this unique technology and the Redox products. There are many doctors in ASEA. Many of them are helping a lot of patients, and Carolyn is very unique. Aside from being a successful naturopathic doctor, she is an entrepreneur at heart, and as such, she has built an international business with ASEA, sharing it from her heart. If you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and they will be addressed in the end. And one last thing before we bring in Dr. Hoffman. Do you know anyone who's ever heard, or perhaps you've heard yourself, there's no hope for your health challenge ever going away? Well, we hope to shatter that fearful statement for you tonight. So let's begin. And thank you again, Dr. Hoffman, for joining us tonight and fitting us into your busy schedule.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Buffy. I really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. If you could just mute out, we have a rogue voice there. If you could find that would be great. And if you are coming on the call this evening, just please mute yourselves out so that our recordings stay as clear as they can. So I'm going to just share my screen. Buffy, can you just confirm with me that that's okay, that you can see it clearly?
I can see it, yes.
Perfect. Okay, that's super. I'm really super excited this evening to be actually working with my friend and colleague, and I felt hang on a second. Okay. All right. So I'll open that again because I think I got muted there. That's for a second. That's okay. I just want to say I'm super excited to be working with Buffy tonight. We're lifelong friends for many, many years, and colleagues in the same kind of field as well. So she's going to bring a different expertise to the table along with my own information on this. And so I'm excited to be sharing with you Redox, because I truly believe that this is the key to our health and to our longevity. and definitely the missing link. That is certainly what I stumbled on back in 2017 after incidentally having turned down this information back in 2011. So if this is your first time, if you've been cajoled to attend this call and you weren't necessarily so independently motivated, I just want to actually encourage you and say it is going to be worth your time, and I really appreciate that you are making the effort to come. So let's kind of talk about what is this. This is that key to health, maintaining health and longevity versus the notion of trying to eliminate some ill health once it actually appears on the horizon. And this is the key that we talk about as redox signaling molecules. And I want to share what those mean for us. You know, the field of redox science itself took off back in 1998 with Nobel Prizes, and it's now in its 22nd year of medical research, where an annual conferences worldwide based out of Paris, France, with over 1,400 books and journals that are published on it. And in fact, one of our medical board, Dr. Osler, is probably the most recent contributor to this, and with his most recent book called Redox Matters. There are hundreds of thousands of peer-reviewed studies if you go to PubMed, the National Institute of Health. And for the ones that don't make it to the peer-reviewed boards, which do not mean that they are not equally as important, there's a lot of political wranglings behind what actually ends up in peer-reviewed journals, but they are over 2 to 3 million other papers and what we call grey papers, and you can find those on Google Scholar. You won't find real research in Google. That is just a search engine. Just to let you know, there's a lot of really misleading information, and I say that because I spent some of my time there myself, actually digging down rabbit holes, trying to work out, you know, what seemed like really authentic and important information from science-based people, only to find that actually it was really promoting a lot of another version of health or a product technology or even a pharmaceutical. Now, every major university within the United States and largely around the world now has research departments, complete departments on redox, or they are doing some kind of research itself. And you'll see that in all of the hospitals. By 2016, the Huffington Post was actually featuring the company ASEA, who brought the stabilized technology to market, as one of 5 emerging technologies that will shape our future. So that could kind of give you a hint about the fact that this is pretty significant. Now, the health of your body is only as strong as your weakest cell. And so if damaged cells are either unresolved or they are greater in number than the body can actually have the ability to meet, we see and experience the signs of that breakdown in our health. Now, if you've ever experienced something not feeling quite right in your health, but maybe your doctors are saying to you, well, your blood work and all your tests come up looking perfect, you're probably sitting in that awfully murky space called dysfunction, right? Because it hasn't raised its ugly head to dis-ease, where your doctors are going to say, yeah, you have something, and they give it a title. But it's a place that doctors don't really address. And so we're looking at that process of keeping us in the state of ease. And if you are bringing the table to the table tonight, something that is in the dis-ease category, we're going to be able to help you look at how the body addresses that challenge. Redox signaling molecules are actually the operating system of our cells. They enable the body to be able to detect the damage that's going on, that dysfunction, and to be able to keep our genes communicating, our gene signaling pathways communicating at peak performance as we age. Now, epigenetics can express themselves from things like lack of sleep or lack of exercise or our diet choices. Those are directly in our hands, and they cause the deficiencies that we feel and see over time, and they cause imbalances as well. Well, if we're under 15, however, we're at the top of our game when it comes to age-related cellular decline, and that's the aging perspective of redox. You know, we're at the top of our game. We have tons of energy when we're under 15. We're going to recover very quickly. We heal fast, and we don't forget things like names or where we left our car keys that happen as we get older. All right. So in other words, our signals within our redox are at peak performance, but as they weaken over time, we begin to see and feel the signs of aging because of fewer redox molecules. Now, redox is actually the energy that powers all life, and that is not simply human life. It is the life of our pets, and it is the life of our plants. And some of my plants are lucky enough to get doses of redox given to them in my house, and they flourish as a result of it. So it's always interesting to watch that journey. Now, as the mitochondria, which is where these redox molecules are made, uses the saline, which is what bathes our cells, it makes that into the energy that creates the fuel for the body. And it creates, in addition to the energy, the ATP, these things called reductants, these negative charges, and positive charges called oxidants. Nowadays, science has actually pulled those two words together, and they have created this area of redox biochemistry. What are they? Well, they're rather like the UPS trucks of the cellular system of the body. They're busy delivering information and instructions between cells and back and forth, ensuring effectively that we stay alive. And so it's really important to recognize if we don't have a redox reaction in our body, there is no life. Their significance can't be overstated for that reason. And it's not simply an important process, it literally is essential. Now, the redox has a couple of functions. You notice the two words, oxidants and reductants. The first one is the oxidants. Those are the signals that actually detect the damaged cell. Its primary purpose is to actually raise the alarm bell within the damaged cell system. And over the last 10 years, one of the things we know is that inflammation is not actually a bad thing. Contrary to what a lot of opinion still exists out there that's kind of behind the science of oxidative stress. Indeed, if there is actually no healing if we don't have any inflammation. So without those signals, nothing else is going to happen. So it becomes not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when there's no response from the body to that signal, that alarm bell, or that the cascade of those alarm bells just become unresolved damage and eventually lead to disease. Now, the reductants are the second part of that redox reaction. These are the negative charges. They do a number of things. They protect the natural lifespan of a cell. They're going to also help it repair a damaged cell, or in the instance when a cell is either unhealthy in its action and doing things we don't want it to do, or it's way past its age and it needs to be replaced, it's going to help the body kill off that unhealthy or aged cell and replace it with a new one. In other words, we're going to heal. But what is the important question here? The important question is, what is the quality of our health and our life as a result of the loss of these signals? And, how can we actually help our health improve if we're able to actually rebuild the signaling? Well, one of the things we need to think about, because very often I think when we come to natural health or challenges that we have, is that we're being very specific in our own experience of where lack of health lives. And so you might be experiencing challenges with your heart. So those are examples of damaged cells. You might have very specific challenges in your breathing. You might have specific challenges in your joint health, for example. So we tend to think very specifically when it comes to dis-ease. But when we're moving into the field of redox, we're actually looking at the fact that this regulates every major body system. In other words, every single cell, and therefore it affects everything that goes on in our body. So we're able to really transition this focus from one specific thing to being able to look at how we systemically support health. It activates things like those antioxidants that are essential to our health. It provides critical cell-to-cell communication. It's going to empower your body's natural renewal processes to function optimally. And it has amazing, powerful anti-aging benefits that we'll show you at the end. Now, we know that, as we said, the epigenetic piece of diet and stress impacts redox. It also turns off our gene signaling. But, by June 2018, the NIH was actually publishing articles to talk about the fact that pesticides also reduce our redox molecule levels in our body. And we know that the society we live in nowadays is deluged with pesticides, so we don't get away from that damage. Now, redox molecules are actually highly fleeting. You know, they have made them in the laboratories in small machines since the 90s when they awarded that Nobel Prize. But their lifespan has been the tricky piece. It really only has a period of about 30 minutes max. So by 2007, a group of scientists actually took at least 10 years of patented research that had happened up until that point, and working off that research, managed to find out how to take this lifespan from 30 minutes and stabilize it to 15 months. That became a total game changer in the arena of natural health, because we came out of having to be entirely in clinical research and now being able to do something that every single one of us can benefit from out in the real world. This is a patented technology as well, and it, at that time, created this whole new market category. Still to this time, it's interesting to note that 11 years in being in the market, we're actually still the only company that has done what we've done. This discovery was going to be sold to a pharmaceutical company. If you're kind of wondering, well, why is it in the nutritional arena? Why did it not come out in the drug arena? Well, it was going to be sold to a pharmaceutical company because of its impact. And I would encourage you to go and look at the ASEA Genesis story on amazingmolecules.com. It's a remarkable reason why the former CEO of Kraft Foods actually turned down a huge monetary offer to take it that pharmaceutical route, and actually placed it in the arena of nutrition. Now, the patented system that then allows us the opportunity to benefit on a daily basis of these molecules is something that replicates the same steps that take place inside our mitochondria in every single cell of the body. So it starts the same way the body does, with this pure salt and water, the saline that's bathing our cells, and it puts it through multiple staged purification and deionization, and then structures and reorganizes these stabilized redox molecules. And this replicates identically to what's happening in our cells. This actually takes the company 3.5 days to go through this transformational process, whereas in our cell, it's going to be under a nanosecond. It's much smarter, much quicker. But we end up with the same process. Now, some people think about salt water. They see salt and they worry about that. There's actually very little salt left in what begins as the product and ends as that bottle that you get. And in fact, the average consumption is probably no more than about half a carrot's worth of sodium on a daily basis. So it actually means that it's not limited to people who don't have salt restricted diets. Now, that transformation in 2009, that stabilization of a 15-month lifespan, became the first and only cell signaling supplement on the market. And as I said, is still actually in that same place. Now, not only do ASEA go through lots of batch testing because they are manufactured in an FDA-approved facility with GMP and NSF standards of compliance, but independently, every batch is sent also to a third party called Bioagilitics. Now, Bioagilitics test about 80% of the drugs on the market on behalf of the FDA, because drugs have dangerous side effects. So they need to know that how their manufacturing is totally consistent. Nutritional industry does not require that. So when you work with a company that goes that far and pays extra money for that so that every batch is tested independently and approved, you know that what you're buying is exactly what you're getting. And so every bottle has that stamp that you can see there on the screen of Redox certified. Now, it's interesting to note that a clinical double-blind study on these ASEA redox molecules prove also that we have no side effects. We also can't be allergic to it in any shape or form because it's in us as we speak. And it also doesn't have any drug interactions, which if you work in the nutritional arena, you know that you cannot say that that's carte blanche when we work with nutrition, because lots of them do interact with drugs. Now, ASEA's own clinical results show a number of interesting double-blind results. And one thing that we know it does is it activates our antioxidant levels. It specifically takes us up by about 800% for glutathione and 500% on SOD. It protects oxidized LDL and DNA, which is really important. That's your blueprint of who you are in the DNA. And we also have a double-blind study that shows that we have a 20 to 31% improvement in gene signaling. Gene signaling is the expression of the DNA, so we need to know that that is going to stay as high as possible. Now, I find this fascinating because 100% of the people put on the ASEA Redox had this 20 to 31% positive gene signaling response. And the placebo, which was just the plain saline, had a 0% response. If you're into statistics of double-blind placebo-controlled studies, you'll know that that is extremely unique and very significant. And these are the 5 areas that it had this positive improvement in, areas in which we can improve our innate immune response, our inflammatory signaling response, providing a healthy cardiovascular response with vein elasticity, improving gut health and digestive enzyme production, as well as maintaining hormone balance and modulate vitality and wellness. Now, I can't stress to you that as a practitioner, it doesn't really make any difference when people come in with anything that has a name to it. It is in one of these 5 areas somewhere. And if it's not simply in one of them, it's in multiple of them. And certainly those first 2 are really key to everything else that happens. Most people will know that every disease produces inflammation and inflammation produces disease. So we can really help everyone. Now, in case you're wondering that, maybe you don't know what age these people were, and perhaps you're saying, well, I'm young, it might not affect me at all because I'm healthy. The fascinating thing was that on this study, everyone was healthy 35-year-olds. They didn't know that their genes had actually already started to diminish in their signaling, and neither did they feel the improvement over that 8-week period. I think that's really important to understand that, that dysfunction that takes place below the surface, we don't feel it. We don't feel and see these things until it arises above the surface. So I just want to show you the implication, because although we talked about 5 pathways, this is one of those pathways. And what I want you to appreciate is not just a single word. It's not just inflammation. It's like opening one door and then this spin-on effect to about another 15 different pathways. Some of those key things that might affect you tonight if you're on this call could be perhaps you don't feel so happy, right? Or perhaps you know people that are very uneven in their mood and they're struggling. That pathway number 1 would be important to them. Maybe you know people as they've got older who forget where their keys are very frequently or forget who you are and what your name is. That pathway number 2 would be really important. In fact, actually, I think a lot of people don't realize that that's something we need to think about in our 40s, not wait until our 60s and 70s when we see those things happen. It's too late. We've lost a lot by then, but we can rebuild these signaling mechanisms. Pathway number 3 speaks to us all. We all need good sleep, right? Circadian rhythm. We all know what it's like when you don't get a good night's sleep. I had one last night. That was one of those. But the fact is I can rebound pretty quickly because of ASEA, thank goodness. Pathway number 4 is how we turn on our own internal antioxidants, our protective mechanism. Thyroid signaling, who doesn't know women who aren't challenged with that, specifically as we get older? We see lots of response that comes from that. And pathway 11 is insulin. That has been written up in the Lancet by Dr. James Watson, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for the double helix DNA, as saying that actually diabetes is a redox deficiency. Now, we're not looking here to say that we're diagnosing and treating and curing. All we're doing here is talking about how do the signals influence everything that happens in our health. And if we have a way to rebuild, we can support the body to just simply have a larger supply of the thing that it needs to stay healthy. Now, if we build our blueprint of us in the womb, right, what we do is we build it in the womb, but we maintain it in our lifestyle, those epigenetic choices that we make. So in other words, our health is very much up to us. It's not up to our doctors. They don't deal in health. They work with when things have really gone wrong and out of control. Now, I want to just let you know that ASEA has no nutrient value to it. This is not nutrition, right? We build the cells with those materials when we deliver those to the job site, so to speak, and we build that through the foods that we eat and the supplements that we provide to make up for what's not in our food. But we need the labor, and this is where the redox is. The labor is the redox, and it is also the inspection for accurate outcomes. So what it does is it helps to prime the cells, and it helps to utilize those materials by delivering them and the nutrients to the cells so that we can utilize them. You know, 5 years of work went in actually to taking what we all consume on a daily basis, this liquid replenishment, and actually finding a way to be able to stabilize it in a method that meant that we can actually apply it to the skin. And here you see some of the clinical studies from Dermatest in Germany, which is giving it a 5-star rating for phenomenal outcomes in just 28 days. Now, if you're over 50, your skin is turning over at around 60 to 90 days. And that's why we all look a lot different than those youngsters whose skin is turning over at a much faster rate at that 28 days. But when we use this for 28 days, we actually get a faster turnover, 16% improvement in skin cell renewal. And if you ask anyone who's using this on a regular basis, we all love what it does for our skin. Many great benefits in terms of the anti-aging piece that I talked about with the smoothness, the wrinkles, elasticity, but an importance in 50% blood flow as well. That's important. We all need nourishment and nutrients to the skin. So what we see is that it does help us not simply stay younger, but it supports us in many other ways, and it also supports the way in which the body's able to respond to healing. Here's just some of the brief examples of that 28-day clinical study, and so you can see examples of improvements in tone and elasticity and radiance and fine lines before and after. And we always love to show Dr. Martin Marin, who's our NIH veterinary researcher, who was part of this study but did a version of the study within the study. If you'll look at his face, you'll see on this left-hand side of the screen, he actually only applied the RENU 28 to one side of his face. And you'll be able to look on either side of his nose, the labial folds around the mouth and around the chin, you'll see the differences. His wife was pretty glad when he actually started to apply it to the second half and begin to look more normal. Now, one of the things that Buffy mentioned at the beginning is, you know, there are different categories and applications for this. Those are also in Olympic and professional athletic arena. Everybody's watching the Olympics at the moment. Now, we have specific ASEA-sponsored athletes. You'll find that those who are sponsored by other companies and can't acknowledge that they use it love the ASEA gel in particular, and they use it on the side because of its benefits. But it has been proven for increased endurance, better performance, faster recovery, mental acuity, those kinds of things. So you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to want to have more endurance and improve strength and faster recovery and certainly stay sharper mentally. That can apply to all of us at every stage of our life. So if you have family members who are younger and have challenges with mental focus, they can benefit just as much as at the other end of the spectrum when we're beginning to lose a lot of that part of life, which makes it very difficult. We see things like 29% improvement in those performances and as much as a 12% faster VO2 uptake. Those things are huge for an athlete. And if you want to know more about it, go to the athleteedge.com and you can look at all the different athletes that are using this product technology and their outcomes. But the power of the topical redox gel technology lies in how we can help our body respond to anything that hurts. This is the unique piece that brought me into the business when I was curious about what this could mean for my clients. And I took some of this into my practice and I just asked everybody who had anything that hurt if I could try this out, and they would actually give me the feedback. And one of the things we do is to be able to rebuild those molecules, those signaling communicators right where something is not functioning as well as we want. So if you're here tonight and you haven't experienced this, ask the person that invited you to get a chance to experience our RENU 28. And if you have something that hurts, maybe it's a stiff neck, or maybe it's a shoulder joint or wrists, maybe it's fingers, knees, anything that you have, just rate this from a 1 to 10. 1 would be insignificant, 10 would be it's about to take you to the hospital for a level of discomfort. This is the same as the liquid, and shake it up because it has a slight stabilization gel, a stabilizer in there, but you'll see that it's totally clear. And when you rate that level of discomfort, as I was doing with my clients, you might say, well, this is a level 8. It's really severe for me. And I want you to just apply at least a raspberry amount to that. And if it's your neck, apply this over, and you can just spread it. You don't actually have to really rub it in intensely. It's a signaling mechanism. It's really very different than typical topical applications that need to be absorbed. It's going to start communicating the moment you put it on the skin. And use that 3 times in the next 5 minutes, wait 5 minutes, and then take a look and see what changes. Now, if you are the kind of person that says, well, I have to see something happen for me before I can share it with anybody else, or I know someone who's got a problem, but I want to see what it does for me. Let me say, the one thing I was very attuned to was Dr. David Silverman said that while you're waiting for your personal experience with the liquid, which might take 30 days, it might take even 90 days to be able to show what your body's doing with it, go out and take the gel and put it on 10 people and watch what happens. I did that with my clinic, and I will tell you that it wasn't, often he will say, would it impress you if 7 out of 10 saw a benefit, or 8 out of 10, or 9 out of 10? Actually, for me, it was actually 10 out of 10. And so that was pretty significant. It really didn't make any difference where we put it. As I said, we're not focusing on specific things, but just the function of the cell. So it could be everything from a hip to a sinus challenge to a bruise. Any of those things were responsive. RENU 28 is actually also supported by the most advanced anti-aging skin therapy that's been brought to market. So this is a cleanser, a moisturizer, and an intensive redox serum. And so we have this simple, very safe and clean product technology that delivers the only redox skincare system on the planet, which feels kind of weird to say that, but it actually is, because nobody else has this and does phenomenal things. Once you start to use those products, you fall in love with it. The complete cellular health piece is really rounded out by the nutrition that is not in ASEA. And so finally, we have the materials to help build those cells with a synergistic whole food, organic and non-GMO range of products, with the exception of the omega, which is fish oil, sustainable source of fish oil. These are all vegan nutritional line. These products feature foundational, essential complex nutrients and superfoods, minerals, healthy enzymes, oils, probiotics, vitality and lifestyle support, cognitive and cardiovascular protection. I'm not going to go into those tonight because it's a large amount to talk about, but the powerhouse of what we have in ASEA is very much the redox. So everyone knows that the batteries that we use in our electronic power equipment at home, over time, it loses its supply and support of power, right? And the human cells are really no different. Except, so like a rechargeable battery, how can we actually replenish our cells to take us from this state of deficiency to sufficiency, and then to be able to go to stability? And that's the key. Very often people kind of jump into this and they get a response, but they don't give themselves a chance to refill and recharge those batteries so that they can stabilize the improvements that they're looking for. And the only 2 questions that are really involved in this equation of how much does it take for each person is the quantity needed by the weakest cell in our body, right? And the time it takes to replenish and recharge your batteries long enough to sustain that battery and not drain that battery again. Right? So it's quantity and time. That's really it. And everyone's journey is going to be completely unique in that. We'll tend to start with about 4 ounces a day, and we increase that until we know that our cells can hold the charge and maintain our health where we want it. It's going to be different between each of us and what our goals are, how much challenge we bring to the table, and how quickly we can recharge those batteries. So during that journey, we will see an experience in energy and healing that takes place at a cellular level. But remember, it's the body that's doing the healing. You know, here is the expectation that the human being is told to anticipate with age, to look and feel worse as we get older, right? That is what every doctor tells you when you go and complain about something. Well, you're just getting older. This is what you should expect. But I want to finish with this screen and let you see that these photos show us that we can literally interrupt the breakdown of damaged cells and aging and turn back that clock, replenish that supply on a daily basis to recharge those cells and to take us from that deficiency to sufficiency and then to stability, so that we can actually look younger on the inside and the outside. And this is our journey of Rosie, who began her journey at 84, who didn't think it was making any difference 7 weeks later. So we always say, take photos. Fortunately, her son, who was a doctor, took photos and compared it. And she continues to show us what is changing for her and the benefits that she's seeing. If you want to see more examples, these are 2 great website places that you can go to: realredoxresults.com with the password Redox. If you're a Facebook person, get the person that's invited you here in to take you into ASEA Healthy Self. That says of 147, this is way outdated. I think we're up to about 178,000 people at this point, and there's going to be a bevy of information for you to be able to research what interests you and see other people's experiences. I want to move at this point to invite Buffy to actually talk about her journey. We have a kind of an interesting common thing in terms of wanting to help people and being involved in natural health. But you've had a very interesting experience on many different levels with this technology. You weren't necessarily particularly interested when I first talked to you about it. You were busy doing other things, but I'd love you to share your kind of perspective on why you're here now and why you actually made a change in your direction.
Oh, I'd love to. And thank you so much for that, that in-depth, really thorough explanation of ASEA Redox. I still pick new things up each time I hear it. They get to my brain different ways each time. So thank you always. And I completely agree with what you've shared. And I like to tell everybody that we didn't get to where we are overnight, and we do have to have appropriate expectations for turnaround. It just doesn't happen that fast. For me, so yes, how I came into ASEA was really when I took the time to look at it, and that's really key. When I took the time, I was mostly interested in the anti-aging benefits. I was curious about adding that to my practice because I didn't have anything that I already was working with that worked on that level. So I came into it looking just at a small part, and I really shortchanged myself by not looking at it earlier. But what I did after I learned about what ASEA really could do, after I gave it my full undivided attention, oh my goodness, I was absolutely blown away by what I found for application to each and every client that I had, not just for anti-aging. So once I learned the totality of what I was looking at, I tried it eagerly for myself because I had my own health challenges that I really was keeping a close hold on. I really didn't share with a lot of people, but I had such a profound experience in my own health struggle that it stopped me in my tracks, and it changed the whole course of my focus and my career path. So I'll tell everybody that I had a tailbone injury, and I struggled with that in agony for 5 years. If you could use the word excruciating, that was my word. So you see that I went up and down the East Coast, and I tried to find someone that could help resolve it because I couldn't, and nobody that I went to locally could resolve that either. And actually, one of those years during that 5-year period, I was in physical therapy 3 days a week for a year, and we just couldn't resolve it. My body just didn't want to maintain any adjustments, any therapy. And I didn't just try little things here and there. I did a complete therapy here and a complete treatment there and a complete protocol system here. I wasn't just doing short, low level things. So I tried everything that I really could. But basically to let everybody know what this really was, my discomfort was anywhere on it from an 8 to a 10 on a 10 high scale. And it was truly excruciating to get up from a seated position. And to illustrate that, it felt like if somebody took a red hot iron out of a campfire and touched it to my tailbone every time I tried to stand up from a seated position. So I stopped sitting down because it was so painful, it just hurt so much. So if you can understand, it hurt so bad to sit down flat. I started sitting on my hips. And so I threw my whole body, my pelvis out of whack. I was in a world of hurt. And that lasted for 5 years because I found ASEA. I started drinking it. And in less than 10 days, 100% of the discomfort in my entire body vanished. And I'm giving you a pause there because that's exactly what happened to me. My jaw dropped. I couldn't even believe what I had experienced. So I realized at that point, I owed it to my clients and my family and my loved ones to figure out what I just discovered so that they didn't have to continue and do the same thing that I did. I mean, we say, learn from my mistakes, don't repeat the same mistakes, right? So I decided that I wanted to offer it to everybody. And that was over 3 years ago. And now I start everyone with this, with a commitment and for what I call a 90-day strong start. I want them to get that strong start to experience, to give their body time to have a good amount of cellular turnover. And really, it's that remarkable because I don't want to waste their time or money beginning anywhere else, because oftentimes they don't need anything else, if anything, maybe something small, because literally it's like having an easy button for health. And to illustrate this even better, one of my favorite television shows is the one where every auditioning contestant wishes and hopes for that coveted, the golden buzzer, right? I really feel like I give everybody the golden buzzer because I can just get them right straight past all the extra auditions, past all the extra tests, and they're right close to the finish line. And they don't have to go through all of that extra periphery. And yes, your body has to do a lot of things, but why make everybody do all of that extra time when it's just not necessary? So that's really, where I came to this. But I have always had such a huge heart for others, and I've always just wanted to help everybody to know if there's something great out there, I can't not tell them. And that's really, truly where I have come from this at, and helping everybody. And so I have just been so blessed by this company, and I've shared it with so many people in our country and in other countries. And I help them to share it. And it's truly taken a life of its own. And that's just given me so much more benefits to what I do as well, because I can't teach other people how to be a naturopath, but I can teach other people how to invite somebody to a presentation and learn from someone else. It's just remarkable that way. So we're going to transition here in a minute to the Q&A portion. But before I do that, I want to invite everyone to the follow-on presentation that's happening tomorrow night. And it's going to be 9 o'clock at this same Zoom, and it's going to be all about the business. If this piqued your interest, there will be a much bigger vision cast with many more details there. But some key things to know if you are going to be evaluating this business, or maybe you know someone who might want to evaluate something like this Breakthrough has created, just to let you know, we have no competition. This is a high impact product. We've been on the market 11 years and we are debt-free. The growth was financed organically without debt. ASEA owns the production facility and the distribution centers. We are in 33 countries around the world. And it often takes, tens of thousands or more to start most successful businesses. And to start your ASEA business, you can range anywhere from, say, $1,000 to a couple $100, depending on how much product you might want to get for your family and what you might want to have on hand to share immediately. So it's really incredible when you realize that small investment includes the ability to help change the world. And it helps You'll have the product, the research, the customer support, the legal staff, training, accounting, a website, and much more. So you just need to put in your time and a willingness to share with others. But rather than pay to market this or advertise traditionally, company pays out 50% of their annual income to those who catch the vision and want to share. And we have such a high impact product with no competition. So if you are looking for something that will allow you to generate an income while having such a profound impact on the world like we are having, we would love to partner with you, welcome you to our team of world changers who are truly making a difference in the lives of others. So unless if Carolyn has something else to add here, this is going to conclude this presentation, and we're going to go into question and answer in a moment. In a moment, we'll shut off the recording, but I want to leave you with this first. If any of this resonates with you, please get back to the person who invited you. Please let them know that you were able to attend, and let them know what impacted you the most. And we really hope that you have learned a lot, and we also hope that you'll bring your own guests back next week to pass this gift forward. Let's pass it on to someone else. So we thank you, and I hope to see you next week. And now we're going to go to the next fun part, which is the Q&A. You're on mute, Carolyn.
Yep, there we go. Okay, super. I know that there may be also some people who will be interested in the philanthropic part of ASEA, which they will get to talk about tomorrow. So we do partner with a number of philanthropic arms. We have the ASEA the ASEA Foundation that really supports and partners with all sorts of organizations around the world to do philanthropic benefits. So if that's something that's interesting to you, it's well worth learning about that as well. And we do have a mission statement that I don't know if that was something that kind of caught your attention when you went to conventions. It was something I got to see more of at the very beginning when I was doing exploration, in terms of that our mission is really to benefit people and to be a force for good in the world. So, a lot of people we have in this company who are fascinating because they aren't necessarily people who come looking for a business opportunity or even to create an income other than to use that to benefit other people, such as building houses in Africa and such like. But, some people love to just partner because the caliber of people that are involved in this business are very different, and that really appeals to a lot of people as well. I'm not certain, I'm just kind of check, let me see. Okay, so we do have a question. Let me just stop on that. Let me